Looking at these comments, Rob, I think people are cottoning onto the fact you're just making the same video every week.
Well, why don't you try coming up with new ideas 65 times in a row?
Let's make another one on bosses.
Also, you only ever use like a pool of 6 games. Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy. Destiny. Always bloody Destiny.
Just make another one about bosses.
Well, I tell you what, how about you write this one, Dave?
As well as all the stuff I have to do.
But look, videos about bosses always do a million hits. Just do another one about bosses.
No! Look, have a sit down, have a think, relax. I'm sure you'll come up with something.
Hello, you've caught me thinking about video game bosses. More specifically, video game bosses that, no matter how hard you smack them in the HPs, just keep on coming back for more. Annoying that, isn't it? Like the friend who, despite all the constant hints, just keeps on showing up.
Hey, that's alright, I'll come to yours instead.
But I've beaten you 3 times already, you'll think to yourself. Get the message, but no. On they come, prostrating themselves before you, possibly with evil dangly bits attached they didn't have before, as you take out your blade of something and paste them again. Here are 6 such bosses that just keep on coming back for more.
Rob, this will do a million.
Better. First up, we've got Final Fantasy X's smarmy, stupid-haired deputy arch-villain Seymour Guardo, a man who sounds like an evil Winnie the Pooh.
What of it?
And who looks like an explosion in a fancy dress shop. He starts off as a goodie, but everyone knows he's going to do something naughty and, surprise, surprise, he asks Yuna to marry him. Enough for me. Get your swords out, lads, and Lulu, you get your doll out. Fighting Seymour in Macalania is pretty underwhelming, however. Unless you've completely neglected the sphere grid, you'll overpower him easily, his limp corpse dragged away by loyal henchmen before Yuna can send him to that magic waterfall with all the sad fireflies. That's where Final Fantasy X characters go instead of heaven. So it's no surprise when he turns up again, forces Yuna to marry him, and then rocks up for a much harder boss fight on your escape from Bavel.
It is good to see you again, Lady Yuna, but you don't seem pleased.
That's twice now, Seymour. Are you dead yet? Of course not. Next, he's hiding halfway up Mount Gagazet in arguably his hardest form, Seymour Flux, a floating monstrosity capable of killing your Aeons in a flash, forcing you to grind for hours in one of Final Fantasy X's most grueling environments. Old Seymour the Pooh still isn't finished, however, and appears for one last desperate boss fight inside the game's final area. Problem is, I, like many Final Fantasy veterans, know to grind the hell out of everything before entering the final area, and so I went into this boss battle with a party of characters armed to the teeth with celestial weapons and break damage limits. The crux being you can beat Seymour on this simply by lobbing a blitzball in his face, although I recommend toying with him just long enough to get to the really, really good bit in his battle theme. Here it comes, this is the best bit now. Next up is Albert Wesker, a man who for 13 years cast a menacing shadow over the Resident Evil series. As a boss, you don't actually fight Wesker very often, but his numerous appearances, persistent death dodging, and near-mythical status as Resi's ultimate villain warrant a place on this list. He first appeared in the original Resident Evil in 1996 as a STARS commanding officer before, shock horror, revealing himself to be an Umbrella double agent and seemingly dying at the end after releasing the Tyrant. More shock horror, Wesker wasn't dead. In fact, he appeared in Code Veronica with superhuman strength, which is even further away from dead than just regular being alive. Wesker then dips his toe in the evil end of Resident Evil 4's plot pool when it turns out he's after a sample of the Las Plagas virus, before turning up covered in leather as the antagonist of Resident Evil 5, where finally, after years of not dying, he dies. That is to say, he gets shot in the head with a rocket launcher while floundering about in a crater full of bubbling lava. Thanks for the memories, Wesker. Suck on this. Next up, we've got the game that originally started out as Resident Evil 4, but was so cool and slick and full of swords, producer Shinji Mikami decided it should be a brand new IP instead. And lo, Devil May Cry was born, and with it, platinum-haired, demon-killing dreamboat Dante.
And what does every good demon hunter need? An infuriating opponent that just doesn't know when it's beaten.
Enter Phantom, a giant scorpion with the body of an active volcano and the vocabulary of a 14-year-old schoolboy bully. In my opinion, he's one of the toughest first bosses in any game. He slapped me down to size at least 3 times before I finally managed to dodge his flame burps and hack him to bits with Alastor. Thank God for that, I thought, ready to enjoy the customary post-boss difficulty lull that comes as standard in all polite games.
Phantom has other ideas, however, and as soon as you're out of that room and into the corridor, he's on you again in a flash.
This is totally against the rules, Devil May Cry. Massive bosses like this are supposed to be fought in obvious rooms with doors that lock shut behind you. That's video game language for prepare for a hard bit, yeah? So you can either run or you can be brilliant and slice Phantom up in the confines of a corridor. Either way, he's finally dead.
My God.
Our next entry will probably cause some debate over whether or not it's actually a boss. It probably isn't, but I feel I have to include Alien Isolation's titular ET because of the constant throbbing menace of the damn thing throughout the entire game. There's a grace period of about 1 hour at the start where you get to explore the game's beautifully authentic retro sci-fi surroundings without too much trouble, and then down it comes, uncoiling from the vents like a childhood nightmare to haunt your every step from there on in.
It's exhausting, quite frankly. There's just no let-up, and the worst thing is you can't even kill the flipping thing.
Distract it, hide from it, let it bore its way into your subconscious forever. These are the only options, unless you make like Dave and pretend the game just doesn't exist. At number 5, we've got Joker, a villain so wonderfully mad and brilliantly voiced by Mark Hamill that we're sort of okay with him popping up again and again throughout the Arkham trilogy. He is naturally the antagonist of Arkham Asylum, teasing bats with all manner of traps, puzzles and punchable goons before finally limbering up for a mano-a-mano duel with his age-old foe right at the end.
Batman is Batman, so of course Batman wins without killing Joker, leaving him free to return in sequel Arkham City.
Which he does with sadistic glee, although this time taking more of a backseat while a circus of supervillains, Hugo Strange, Ra's al Ghul, Two-Face, fight over the dark, wet streets of Gotham. Not to be upstaged for long, however, Joker shocks everyone by, spoilers, actually dying for real right at the end of the game.
Which, sadly, means no more Joker.
Or it would, were it not for the wonderfully mad hallucinations suffered by Batman in Arkham Knight, which cleverly allowed Joker and Hamill a massive role in the game, and it really is brilliantly implemented, the Dark Knight's slow descent towards insanity as Joker gleefully pulls him further into the madhouse.
A bit like when I get really tired and close my eyes.
Our final entry is Liquid Snake from Metal Gear Solid, squeaky sound effect, whom you first battle in a Russian Hind D helicopter on top of a tower in a snowstorm. That's fair, but because you're Solid frickin' Snake, you smash him to bits using a combination of Stinger missiles and a small piece of scenery that acts as miraculous cover for when Liquid does this.
The chopper falls, blows up, and Snake just stands there, iconic and awesome, before saying one of my favourite lines in the entire series.
That takes care of the cremation.
Hooray, Liquid's dead. Except here he is, tricking you into activating Metal Gear and being very much alive. That's okay, the Heinz D probably had an eject button. We can forgive Liquid this one time. Let's blow him up again by hitting Rex's cockpit,
which Liquid is sitting in with no protection other than his pecs.
with more Stinger missiles. Boom! Liquid's dead. No. Okay, time to end it properly this time by punching Liquid off the top of Metal Gear Rex.
Finally, I blew up his helicopter with him in it, I blew up his walking nuclear tank with him in it. Now he's surely dead.
It's not over yet!
Liquid is still kicking and well enough to drive a truck one-handed while shooting an assault rifle with the other. This is the end game, however. A horrific crash, surely the final nail in a coffin he just keeps on bursting out of.
Snake!
Seriously.
Snake!
There we go, after being blown up in a helicopter, blown up in a nuclear tank, kicked off the top of the nuclear tank and mangled in a car crash, Liquid finally snuffs it thanks to Fox Die.
It's been a while, brother.
Liquid? Not so young anymore, eh, Snake?
A few more years and you'll be another dead clone of the old man.
But I live on through this arm!
There we go, 6 bosses that just kept on coming back for more. Please like this video and share it with your friends, because if it doesn't do a million hits, I'll probably be fired. Don't forget you can download our PS4 app and watch all our videos on your home console. And please subscribe for more list features, occasionally not about bosses, every Friday. Thanks for watching.